What is up, guys? Welcome to the Transparency Saturday. I'm gonna run to the store really quick, grab a couple teas. If you guys catch me,
folks, I know there's a history here.
Fine.
I'd like to get this hearing in today. You know, everybody needs to just focus on the relevant facts, okay? I know there's a history here.
Sorry for the delay. It's worth the wait.
Are you talking up by Sunset Mart? Up the hill by the gas station?
Yeah.
Okay. Why did you...
Woo!
All right, who's responsible here?
Let's raise some money. I'm going to try to get in 30,000 steps a day over there in good old Delphi. If I'm not allowed in that courtroom, I'd be so pissed.
Who's responsible here? Whose house is this?
Yeah, been drinking or anything, right?
No.
Okay, drive careful, okay?
Thank you.
I think I found the murder weapon in the Brian Drake murder case. Fuck, it's amazing. It's a great day. It's a great Saturday.
Oh, really? You just ditched it?
Woo!
Yeah, those ones kept walking in the car.
Jennifer!
It's truly for the win.
You a bad girl. Huh? Idaho4, man. This is going to go down in the records as one of the craziest cases, I think. If it follows anything like the Drake case that I was given to.
So there was 2 different discs, okay? They all knew about it.
Fuck yeah, they did. Come on in.
We're not here to talk about the alcohol stuff, okay?
Okay, yeah.
But this is the second noise complaint we've had here tonight within 2 hours.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Is this your place?
Yeah.
Perfect. You know why we're here?
I see noise.
Noise, yeah.
Yeah.
Big speaker right there.
Yeah.
Nothing against having a party. Once neighbors start calling in, then we have an issue.
Like brains, and like if you need a lot of brains, you're gonna be in trouble.
All right, guys, what is up? Some new documents did drop in the case, Idaho4 case. We are looking at no more burglary charges for Mr. Kohlberger. All these papers. No objection to the state's motion for leave to amend notice pursuant. So go ahead by withdrawing the Idaho code and reading factors. Woo-wee! Go ahead, do all that. We're going to get all into that. But guys, I want to take us back to really quick. Why in the world would the investigators in a quadruple homicide write up only a search warrant for one of the 4 victims for their Reddit account right here, and literally go and ask for like a week after the murders. I mean, a week, and you're putting in a search warrant for Keely's Reddit. Nobody else's Reddit. Kaylee's Reddit. But on November 20th, 2022, 7 days. Reddit. What in the world? Also, the reason that this got posted everywhere to go get the record, all the hearings that Judge had, they didn't stay up on Judge's page. So I think that this has something to do with that, by the way. Saying you guys can go pick out, put in a request in to get X, Y, and Z for requests for audio of hearings are to be submitted. Requests for sealed records are to be submitted. So I've already started on doing some stuff for this. There's just a couple things that I want. I want these search warrants unsealed. Can we get these search warrants? Okay. Now, technically, they could have held back the 3 other victims' Reddit accounts, right? And they might have not just posted those online. All right, but I want to point something out. If this was so important, I've talked about this before, but I need to bring this back into you're talking about a timeline here. And this timeline is so very important as to when you got your radar on Brian Kober, why you got your radar on Brian Kober. We need some dates here. What's going on. You first ever even looked at a video on the 18th of November. All right. The murders were on the 13th. And you just started glimpsing over some video on the 18th. All right. So here it was so important to go out and get this search warrant. So on November 20th, 2022, I obtained a search warrant for Reddit. All right. Well, when did you serve the search warrant? Well, not till December 1st. What? Why? Why did you hang on to the search warrant for how many days? 10? If it's so important, why are you not serving the search warrant? 10 days is a long time. This is quadruple homicide. You would think that you went out and got this search warrant because it was very, very, you prioritize your search warrants, right? How crisp did that sheath look that these guys were like, my God, this looks like it's brand new. Let's see what knives have been bought recently. Yeah, I guess we can do that. But Reddit. What the fuck? Could be a deep fake. Lana Duff, I find. Oh, thank you. Cheers. I missed this other one. Hold on. The mom of Carson Hockey. Let's shower Lana with cash for Delphi tonight. Oh, look out. Well, then if that's the case. Here you go. You can hit me up on my Cash App. Fort Wayne. So here you go. I want you guys to take a look. On the first day of December 2022, at approximately 2:09 p.m., the following somehow served the search warrant. And then down here, description of property. gave a couple addresses, gave a number, last 4, and then here is when they got this back. Oh, is that? So I said to myself, well, I'll tell you, if you make an oops, let me tell you something. If you make an oops, like, oh shit, we went and obtained this search warrant. I want to know what was used to obtain that search warrant for the Reddit. Like, what was nobody else's Reddit, just Kaylee's. And fast forward to when Brian Kober's arrested, PCA comes out, and we see that, oh my God, Brian Kober had a Reddit account, right? But you have to remember that in this case, they knew that they could never tell anybody how they went about investigating this case with IGG. So they knew that they were going to have to work backwards. They knew this. Like, we have to find things any which way to tie Brian Kober, right? If you're not able to say that you are going to use your genealogy name, here it comes from the FBI. Oh, here, look at Brian Kober. Because they tried every which way to, hey, we won't disclose this, but if the water starts getting really hot, we're going to have to probably go to bail out of our preliminary hearing, and we're going to have to go indict with this secret grand jury. So they get this back on the 22nd. What happens on the 23rd? Anybody in class want to answer that? What happens on the 23rd of December? Me, I know. AT&T warrant serves. Oh. Mowry testified to the AT&T warrant. You know, the day that they royally violated Brian Kober's rights. So the day after. So the next day. So they get this Reddit search warrant back. And then literally on December 23rd, they do what? Oh, AT&T. And they serve 2. Telling you, one of which I know that they didn't fucking do what they said. They made their shit up in order to get that second warrant. But Lord, I would love to know what they wrote on that first one too, to be able to get the historical, which is like, so they got basically for the existence of the phone number, because it was a new phone number come June of 2022. So again, though, somebody was like, hey, it's so important that we go and get Kaylee's Reddit. We go get a search warrant on November 20th, 7 days after the murder. Literally just 2 days. They hadn't even viewed the Ring camera footage. They haven't even started to view things. How do I know that? Because it's in a motion that Ann Taylor and Jay filed. Okay. November 18th is a big day. That it's like, what came first here? Like, you guys are hiding the 8 ball of your case. That's all we've been asking for. Give us the dates. We want the dates of this. We want the dates of that. And so I want to know how in the world somebody would be like, let's go and get Kaylee's Reddit account. Reddit. Who was like pushing that? And then wouldn't you, how do you know that Maddie, Xana, Ethan, the 2 survivors, how do you know that they don't have Reddits? What if they do have Reddit accounts? Wouldn't you be going after everybody's? Weird, huh? But we're gonna go obtain this, but then, oh wait, you know what? Oh shit, we can't Don't put that in yet. Don't put that in yet. We have to make it seem like things led up to us then going and serving this warrant. Like that's what my gut tells me. Because how in the world, if you're Maori, what did you? You went and obtained the search warrant, and then you just. Oh my God, I totally forgot that it was on my desk. 10 days. So now I got to go down on December 1st. I'm going to, look at it. The warrant was served on December 1st by email. He didn't have to go anywhere. He just sits at his desk. Email it out, baby. On December 19th, 2022, I received an email from Reddit.com which contained the requested information. Now, just because I received it doesn't mean he opened it. All right. I received an email. I received an email from Reddit.com which contained the requested information. So just because you have an email, Lana, you need to read any Cash App donations to the class like Turtle has. Only if they're funny. I don't even know what that app is. Let me find that app. All right, that app's up. Well, it'll just let me know. So just because you received this email from Reddit, that means exactly what it is. Don't look any further. Don't oh my God, they received the email, so they went ahead and started destroying that and looking through the Reddit returns. No. I received an email from Reddit which contained the requested information. An inventory was prepared for all the items received, and the information received was placed into evidence at the Moscow Police Department. So I just then took everything that it was and I'm putting it into evidence. That does not mean that I looked through it, reviewed it, or anything like that. Then Maori takes his happy ass down to see. Let's see. What's this? Well, order sealing search warrant and related documents. So, on December 22nd, the return was given to the courts, and then it was also asked that, hey, I want to get this sealed. Okay? So it's sealed, and then, oh, wait. So let me ask you this then. Here's Maori. He had to take it down. So at 2:45, where's Maori at? Well, he did this. Didn't he go and he went and saw Marshall here. Right here. I, Lawrence Mowry, the officer by whom this warrant was executed to certify the and this warrant and property have been duly returned before the court at 9:00 a.m. this 22nd day of December. That's a signature. Remember, he testified like I wasn't working on none of that. I wasn't doing the phones and the stuff that Payne was doing. I believe you, man, because you were just the fucking search warrant runner. Go take this down there. Go take this down there. Carla, what's up, girl? She's got 5 on it. Sorry, it's not more. I only had $6 on my Cash App. Carla, that was funny as fuck. Ooh, Carla, you should have just sent $1. You should have sent $1. Thank you, Carla. Appreciate that. Bethany, welcome. She's a new member. Cheers. Bethany, thank you for all of your research and rational thinking. I know, I love rational motherfuckers. Those irrational fucks, though, woo, it's hard to date them, man. Do you ever just look at them and you're just like, how the fuck does your brain work, man? Sometimes you just need to shut up. Look pretty. Thank you. Cheers. Can you just DoorDash me some twisted teas? Because I'm about to get hot about this. Because I'm like, why is this Reddit so damn important? If it was so damn important, why is Maori just sitting around with it fucking up his ass, for 10 damn days? Or was it like a slip up? Was it like, no, you can't serve that yet. You can't serve that. You guys want to talk about someone being framed, okay? You want to talk about someone being framed, then you have to start looking at things where you can kind of think that that's a possibility, all right? Because that's all I hear from, people are either, oh my God, Brian Culver is so guilty, or oh my God, Brian Culver is being framed, all right? It's like very few people are just like, all right, man, let's just get a fair motherfucking trial. Let's make sure that our rights are not violated. Everybody gets a fair trial here. And for right now, what I see, like the state's going to have to bring it for me because I'm surprised that nothing was in the car, what they want to claim happened, everything like that. Give me something physical. Don't give me what you're going to label as when you think this crime happened off of drunken high people that may have not even been there, given multiple statements. Like, I'm not, like I want to follow the evidence. I want your investigation. I want the state's case to make sense to me. I want you to walk me through how you investigated this case and how it led to Brian Culver. You prove to me those things and the elements of this crime, you're going to get a guilty out of me. You don't do that, you're going to get a non-guilty out of me. And that does not mean that he did it or he didn't do it. I'm saying that I'm going based off of how every juror should look at something like that. Like, the state has to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. You want to kill a man. There's some high standards. That's a high threshold. Very, very, like the highest you got. And so I come back to this Reddit because I come back to these dates. And I'm like, November 20th, wow. They're like, let me just go out there and get some Reddit account, let me just go get my Reddit. It's like, wow. How the fuck could Reddit be such a high priority? Isn't that crazy? One person's Reddit? Not all of them. One person. And then I thought to myself, okay, well, maybe they did that because they were trying to see if Kaylee had a stalker. That's why they did her Reddit and no one else's Reddit. Now, next. I'm going to share the screen and hi, Boston. Let's take a look at where is it? Here it is. I am the master of suspense. I'm not just the master of like, this fucking shit don't make sense. Make it make sense. Woo! Moon! Moonvale, I swear, do you switch your name every other day? I love it. Keep doing it. All right, you guys remember this body cam, right? Like, one of the all times right here. 5 p.m.
All right, who's responsible here? Who's responsible here? Whose house is this?
Travel support, safe journeys. Cheers. That was from Mr. Albert. Oh my God. Are the Alberts watching me? I'm going to fast forward here. Okay. Hey, if you're not 21, get inside. That's what they said. Okay. If you're not, you guys, 5:23 in the afternoon, early evening, 5:23, 8/16, 2022, 8/16. Do not 21 go on in there. All right.
Here?
Yeah.
That one's up on those.
Dumpster right there, right? They're like, oh, we checked all these dumpsters. Like, who the fuck threw shit in dumpsters? That's dumb as hell, right?
Is that right where the guy's walking right there?
Oh, yeah.
That side there. I guarantee you that
They were checking the dumpsters, but they don't check the outside garbage. They don't check any of the other garbage. Remember? Even the guns officers were like, what the, like, they didn't even go through the trash. Like, we're getting the stuff back. We didn't even ask for the stuff. Like, but they get those dumpsters. Okay.
you're going to go right back on as soon as you leave.
Well, I saw that big, tall JBL on the back patio there, so I'll just go chat with them.
Okay, I'll come with you.
Okay. See right here where this vehicle is. I want you guys to start a little checklist for your trial that's going to come up here in about what, a year? I want to know where, with the body cams, where on the day of the murders, when the officers responded, where did they park their cars when they responded to the scene on the day? Okay, on the day of. Because every single body cam that we've ever watched, where are they parking their vehicles? Away, and they walk up. Right? So put that down in your little notebook. Is where are these SUVs going to be if we get to ever see the body cams of the first responding officers?
Yeah, we'll walk up. We'll start things off on a good foot.
It would be fair, you know, if you're one of these guys, you better warn them.
Yeah.
You hear how we just said, oh, we'll walk up. We'll start things off on a good foot.
Good point.
Moscow 11. Still partnership. Moscow 111. We're clear of 1127 King Road. We're going to be out at 1122.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vehicles, of which we know some of those vehicles and who they belong to. Let me ask you a question. People want to say that Brian Culver was stalking this house. People want to say that the person that did this was stalking this house, that they, were in the area so many times, that they were, hunting, whatever you want to call it. Brian Kohlberger, if you think that he's the guy, and people want to say that he's so smart and he's a criminologist student and PhD, whatever you want to say, I can promise you that if you're surveying or whatever word you want to use, this property, since school started until the murders happened, then there was a huge X factor that when you would have pulled up and been doing what you were doing and making your loops and laps, you would have noticed something that would never been there ever one time. And it would have been a huge X factor. And that X factor was the Range Rover. You wouldn't have known who the Range Rover belonged to. That would have been a huge, I've never seen that car there before. The car's never been there before. Well, and we know that's 100% true because she didn't have that car. Okay. So that's a huge, huge, like, problem for somebody that's trying to commit the perfect crime. That you're seeing, which should have been like right there, that Range Rover. It's okay. I mean, it could belong to a parent. It could belong to like two dudes. It can belong to people coming from, a different campus. People, I mean, you have no idea who that vehicle belongs to. You're able to pinpoint all the other vehicles, and you would have thought that Kaylee was not there because her car that you think she drives and that you've pegged her with isn't there. So again, let me repeat that for the people that I talk fast. If you are surveying this house, and if you're doing it the 12 times or the whatever, and there's not just the X factor of you have a Range Rover that you've never seen before, you have no idea who that belongs to. It could belong to a guy, it could belong to a girl. That car could have brought 4 people. You don't know. You've never seen it. Not only have you never seen it, but we in the world know for a fact, because Kaylee had just gotten that would be across the board an X factor to that person that was like, wait a second, whose vehicle is this? I've never seen this car before. Okay. Then they would have seen that, well, where's Kaylee's normal vehicle, or where's, and then it all comes down to, I don't know, because I've gotten too many different stories on Kaylee was moving out. Kaylee was going to sublease. Kaylee's here. Kaylee's there. Kaylee's what, But for the person that would have been surveying this house, they would have seen a Range Rover they'd never seen before, and Kaylee's vehicle wouldn't have been there. So if Kaylee's the target, that doesn't sound like a promising night to go into that house. Is that a strategy that you would implore if you were the defense? That, like, you kind of just can't have it both ways. You can't say somebody's so smart and they're paying attention to all these things, and then comes down to it and like they're just, okay, we're gonna loop around and be on every camera 4 or 5 times and drive around the whole fucking area and then realize that there's a new vehicle there, and then also realize that the one of the vehicles that you really want to be there because you would know that person's there, right? Or is it that you didn't see the vehicle so that you knew that Kaylee wasn't there, didn't know that the Range Rover belonged to her, because your target was actually Maddie, and you thought Maddie was upstairs all alone? That requires a lot of intel. A lot of intel. You think that somebody could do all that and not have a phone when they would have arrived there to see, like, holy shit, whose vehicle is this? Holy shit, why isn't Kaylee's vehicle here? Okay, so Kaylee's not here. Okay, well, whose vehicle is this? Did it have like a new plate? Did it look like it was a new, because it had could you tell that it was a new, but a criminology student who's trying to plan the perfect murder is going to see all this shit and be like, yeah, I'm walking into some I'm walking into huge unknowns.
How's it going, guys?
Now, I want to point this out. He doesn't even attempt to go and knock on that front door, right? We all know this. Doesn't try to knock on the front door. He goes straight for the back door. Rosie, right? We all know this, right? The question is why? Why?
Casey.
I love that song, by the way. Casey's his partner, but Casey's over there talking because I have the other body cam, and he's over there talking to bushy brow boy, Syed or whatever. I think that's how he says it.
I'm just going to loop around up here.
I'm just going to loop around up here. I'd be so pissed at my landlord if fucking this shit looked like this every day. I'd be like, what the hell are you doing? You can get your happy ass out of here and pull this shit.
Hey there.
Peace out. Now that was Dylan, right? We all know that was Dylan in her dress, but hey, hi there. Peace out. What are you doing? This is how you start off on a good foot? You don't go to the front door and knock on the door? Boop. Pink dress woman, right? Look, I just love how, now think about this, you guys. I just need you to think about this. Nothing is going on here. There was not 4 people dead, blood everywhere, okay? Nobody is talking to the police, right? They see the police, they run, okay? They see the police, they run. Look at her. She just left the refrigerator. There's homie. This is not even his place. Now we know what the twisty ties are for. It's a game. It's a drinking game. It's fun.
Is this your place, man?
It is not.
Okay. Would you mind going and getting somebody whose place this is? Oh, she is?
Yeah, she's at the front door.
You want to send her up back here? I apologize. We knocked at the front door. No one came.
I'll be right back.
Yep. Thanks, man.
He just said, we just knocked on the front door. No one came. Lies. All fucking lies. But everyone's like, but they're allowed to lie. They're allowed to lie, right? Everyone always says that. It's just like, but the question is why? Why lie? If you want to have a good relationship with your, with the community, why are you lying about something like that? Like, that's not how you know it's trust in the community.
Yeah, I took one look at that speaker. I said,
5:28 in the early evening.
You get a lot of guys trying to argue private property access.
the way I've always done it, and correct me if I'm wrong, was the way I did it there.
You're going to get a lot of guys to argue private. What are they even talking about? Let's just blow your mind.
Find one responsible, have everyone else hold them accountable. If I got to come back here, they're getting the ticket. Because then it's on them to nip everyone else in the bud because they know.
If they don't come out, we just contact landlords.
Yeah.
You just start contacting landlords.
You come back the next day or the next time you work.
We just start contacting landlords. Okay, explain that to me legally, like legal me up here. So you're going to contact landlords and say what? The college kids didn't answer their door? And what? Is that a fucking crime? That's not crime. You knock on the door. What do you want? I don't have to talk to you. I do not have to talk to you. I have the right to remain silent every day of my motherfucking life. Okay? I do not have to talk to you. So you're going to call my landlord for what now? What's going on? You want to give me a warning? Leave it taped on my fucking door and get the fuck up out of here. Man, that is not how you handle yourself. Fuck yeah, it is.
Yeah.
There's no a lot of cooperation does not go.
You guys, nobody was out there, like, coming up over here doing what?
Yeah.
You guys, we all know how small this house is, okay? So now ask yourselves, what do you think happened? And why do you think it took 9 hours to call the police? How hard of a hurdle is this going to be for the state to make their case when you're saying that Dylan Mortensen heard a whisper? I'm here to help you. I don't even know that happened, but whatever. Someone that's in a frozen shock state and blah, 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 and doesn't hear anything, just opens up her door but never leaves, opens up her door again, doesn't leave, opened up her door a third time. Oh, killer doesn't see me, walks right past me, and then I'm just frozen. But I heard someone say, I'm here to help you. Who is going to believe that? I don't believe that. None of that. I will never believe that. There is no effing way that is how that transpired. Nobody gets out of bed 3 times to open up their door and just stand in the middle of their doorway. Think about that. Why would you get up out of your bed if you're not going to go do something about something? If like people being loud and come on guys, knock it off, or you want to help somebody. Nobody gets up out of their bed and goes to their door, opens their door, and just stands there, and then goes back in their bed, and then does it again, and then does it a third time. No college kid. That requires effort. Okay. Like, just put it, how about that? Like, I'm not doing that. College, I'm not doing that. I'm fucking drunk. I'm high, whatever. Like, I'm not getting out of my bed and doing that 3 times. Or if I do, I'm going to go do something. I'm not just going to open up my door for nothing. What am I opening my door for? Like Ace Ventura. What, for what? Look at this.
No stairs to the back deck. Interesting.
No stairs to the back deck. Interesting. Why is that so interesting? You know how many people have like back decks that, I mean, like the Louisiana style house, like you have your deck that's up top. You don't have stairs coming off of that. Like, what? Wild thing to say. I don't know why you would need stairs. I don't know why that'd be a fire hazard. I don't think that would be a fire hazard. It's a I mean, that's like basically saying that you need to have stairs coming out of every window in your house. Should have stairs for way out in case of fire. Well, you just jump out the windows, so why wouldn't you just jump off the deck? 2 ways out. Oh, there's 2 ways in, 2 ways out.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Is this your place?
Yeah.
Perfect. You know why we're here?
And I assume noise.
We're good. She's like so prepared. She brought her ID and everything. I assume noise. That's why you're here. I have no idea why you're here. Actually, I'm like, I have no idea why you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big speaker right there.
Yeah.
Nothing against having a party. Once neighbors start calling in, then we have an issue.
Fair.
You go to school?
Yeah.
Okay. What year?
Senior.
Senior. Okay. So I'll tell you the same thing I told them. You probably know the drill, right?
Actually, no.
Oh, okay. So
You probably know the drill, right? No, she has no idea why you're there.
usually, at least for me, I'll give you a verbal warning.
Okay.
Once I have neighbors calling in, your music's too loud, you're disturbing the peace.
Yeah.
Nothing against having parties, nothing against having people over who are overage to drink.
Mm-hmm.
But again, once we start disturbing the neighbors, then we've got an issue.
Yeah.
Noise ticket is up to 300.
Yeah,
and
somewhere around 300, 400.
okay, it's a pretty expensive ticket. I don't want to give that to you.
Yeah.
That being said, this is your place, so I'm going to hold you responsible.
Uh-huh.
Because it is your place, you're also responsible for everybody here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to grab your info.
Yeah.
And if I do have to come back here, a $300-some ticket's coming your way.
Okay.
And it only gets more expensive from there. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fair. Absolutely.
Actually, let's just do it this. What's a good phone number for you?
208 640 4818.
4818. Is this 1122 here?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Is this 1122 here? How did he know that? How did he know that it was 1122? How the fuck did he know that? Her driver's license does not say 1122. Just so we're clear. Her driver's license does not say 1122. There's no fucking way her driver's license says that. I think, in fact, her driver's license said, where was she living with her sister? Nobody called in and gave this address, guys. That's not how it was called in. It was a noise complaint coming from King Road or Queen Road or something like that. Okay. So I'm just curious how he knew that this is 1122. Very interesting to me. It's on the house. He didn't walk up the house. That's the thing. He's up off the side. He didn't go to the front door. He didn't do anything like that. Okay. He goes off and around the side. He doesn't even go near the front door. He's whoop. I have the whole report. Nobody called in that it was at that address. That's not how this was called in. This is the one that nobody could find.
I'd much rather you spend that $300 on beer or something fun than a noise ticket, right?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. That being said, warnings. Don't do it again.
Yep.
I'd hate to come back in a few hours and then have to issue that. So,
Yeah.
Any questions for me?
No.
All right. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
A noise complaint, guys, at 5:30. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Listen, Rosie. Okay. Next up. Woo! Rosie. Whistling. Columbus Crew just scored. What's the Ohio State game, man? Let's see. I got some. Let me see this video. Where's the one I want to show? The other one. Ah, boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Right there. Jordan, you guys know who that is, right? The girl that she was supposed to go live with in Austin. Kaylee was going to go live with in Austin. Jordan. They weren't supposed to be living together, though, until the summer of, at the end of the school year. And so Jordan said that she and Miss Gonzalez, who was set to graduate early in December, had planned to move to Austin, Texas together in June. The plan was for, that's her last name, Jordan, to teach elementary school and Kaylee to work for a marketing firm that had offered her an internship. Both women had grown up in Idaho and yearned to see more of the country. Jordan said, now, I dug into this back when this all went down, and I thought it was really, really interesting. Kaylee put it out there that she was looking for a roommate in Austin. Okay. So she would have moved twice. She would have moved to Austin, just had a roommate from, February until June, and then lived with her in June. She had no idea, though. Jordan had no idea that Kaylee was going in February. I hate moving, so for me to think to myself, okay, I'm going to move there in February, and I'm going to be there for 3, and then I'm going to move. I'm going to then, oh hell no.
And Leslie Jones, a year of frustration for friends and legal colleagues who can't understand why the case of the couple killed in cold blood hasn't been solved, and a year of unanswered questions for Oak Park Police. 1 year ago tonight, 7:30 p.m., the grisly discovery in this 113-year-old Oak Park home. 67-year-old Leslie Ann Jones and her 69-year-old husband Thomas Johnson stabbed numerous times. The couple both had Harvard law degrees. She was found on the second-floor staircase landing. He was in a bedroom. Whoever killed them spent considerable time in the house.
The crime scene is large. A 3-story, nearly 4,000 square foot home that sits upon over 10,000 feet of land.
This February video put on YouTube one of the few public statements by Oak Park Police, who declined numerous invitations from the I-Team to discuss the case and perhaps elicit new information from viewers, leaving family members who also declined to be interviewed to wonder what happened and why. Attorney Tom Johnson was a hearing officer for the Chicago Police Board, a civilian agency that determines officer discipline. Guianne Foreman is the board president.
Tom was like the judge in the sense that he presided over the hearing.
And in recent years, Johnson handled several controversial, high-profile cases alleging police misconduct.
The not knowing is the hard part. Is it something associated with one of our cases? Is it something associated with the crime and violence that takes place in Chicago? Very little was going to get by Tom. Tom was going to evaluate this from both sides to make sure that all of the questions were answered in an effort to make sure that justice is truly served.
Woo! I'm the one and only. 25 plus years, baby. I put together 5 episodes of Idaho4.
Travis Jetton and his wife were both brutally stabbed in their home in the middle of the night. Travis died in the attack and his wife was seriously hurt. Fox 12's Adrian Thomas spoke with Travis Jetton's mother about the family's latest efforts to seek justice.
On August 13th, 2021, the Jetton family's lives changed forever. A year later, Marion County Sheriff's Office detectives are still trying to hunt down the person or people responsible for the murder of Travis Jetton. And the Jetton family is offering a large reward for anyone who comes forward with information about Travis's murder.
When this happened, I would have never believed it for a million years. Travis was just an amazing young man. And so we are really struggling because we don't have answers.
A year later, and still asking why and who took the life of 26-year-old Travis Jetton in a senseless act of violence. Travis's mother, Myra, remembering her son nearly a year after that night, where Travis and his wife, Jamelyn, were both stabbed multiple times. Deputies with the Marion County Sheriff's Office were called to the Jetton family's farmhouse near Howell Prairie Road and Hazel Green Road near Silverton. Myra, remembering her son as a calm and compassionate person.
Right before Thanksgiving 2022, I was tracking down different cases that had to do with people being stabbed in the middle of the night, whether they were couples, whether they were, friends, anything that was similar to this in terms of the whole, is this a serial killer? honestly, I didn't put too much time into this theory, mainly because of the way that the university and the police responded to the media with everything saying that, hey, everybody's okay, this is an isolated, targeted attack. That's not how you would respond to a crazy person on the loose. I went ahead and I made a list and I said, okay, what do we know? What are they telling us? And again, this was right before Thanksgiving, because they said that they were going to come out with another press conference on the 23rd, which was the day before Thanksgiving. So when I was going through all my stuff, I said, okay, what are they telling us right now? And it was, they first revealed in writing on the 23rd that there was 103 pieces of evidence collected at the scene. Throughout the investigation so far, investigators have collected 103 pieces of evidence. They've taken approximately 4,000 photographs, made multiple 3D scans of the residence, and hundreds of hours by ISP forensic science technicians and investigators. So that was the first time that they ever talked about a number, and they said 103 pieces of physical evidence. They were still wanting available videos, whether there's appears to be motion.
Right there. Nothing about the Reddit. Okay. Kaylee mentioned having a stalker, but detectives have been unable to corroborate this. Okay. Investigators are requesting anyone with information about a potential stalker to contact the tip line. All right. Remember, they came out and they said, Kaylee does not have a stalker. We exhausted our energy, blah, blah, blah. So my question would be is, if you were trying to find out if Kaylee had a stalker and you went to go get her a search warrant for her Reddit account because it was so important on November 20th, then why did you hang on to it until December 1st to serve this search warrant? Because really, well, I'll let this play.
Or not. That was West Taylor Ave, Northwest Palouse River Drive, South Highway 95.
And then this is why Ann Taylor is like, why did Vargas go over to that area to go get a camera? Like, that wasn't even the area that you guys were asking for camera footage. So how do you end up with camera from over there, and why? Like, where is this coming from? Okay, you guys getting this yet? Like, all of this isn't adding up. It's like you're writing down on paper and telling the public something, and then behind the scenes, you are doing the complete fucking opposite. Like, hey, we want camera footage over here in the south, and you guys go fucking north.
South to the 2700 block of Highway 95 South, and the Botanical Gardens, the west boundary. So there was mention of Kaylee having a stalker, but detectives have been unable to corroborate the statement. Investigators are requesting anyone with information about a potential stalker. Detectives believe, again, that word believe, that on November 12th, the two surviving roommates had also been out in the Moscow community separately, but returned home by 1 a.m. On November 13th. The two did not wake up until later that morning. Again, they're getting this 1 a.m. time of coming home. In this, they never talk about that these two surviving roommates, at no point do they ever talk about that they saw them come home, meaning the victims. When I was going through all of this stuff, they never mentioned that they physically saw them get home. Okay, so did you physically see Xana, Ethan, Kaylee Maddie come home at those respective times. It is alleged to be, home at 1:56 for the Maddie and Kaylee from the grub truck, 1:45 from Sigma Chi for Ethan and Xana. But nowhere ever in here did they ever talk about either of the surviving roommates physically seeing them come home and having any type of conversation with them. Nothing like that. So then I started working through like, okay, what do I think these 103 pieces of evidence could be? Who do I think told the police that Kaylee was talking about a stalker? Who would have said these things? And what are these 103 pieces of evidence? Because at this point, we don't know if the police have the phones of the 4 victims. We're assuming that they have the 2 phones of the surviving roommates. But there's been no mention if the police have the cell phones of the deceased 4 off-campus students living in this house. Well, I'm digging on different things. That's exactly what I'm doing, is different things. So as I'm working on what I possibly could think, the 103 pieces are, now I'm also looking at, okay, Kaylee and Maddie just had turned 21 not too long ago. So now it's their true taste to be out at the bars where they're going to be around older people, especially older men. They can go ahead and gawk a little bit, and at times they can be creepy. But I wanted to look at the bars that were in Moscow and who normally was attending these places, especially the corner club, seeing as that was some place that they would attend on a regular basis.
Her friends were really pretty, so them attracting attention was pretty common wherever they went. So I think she attracted attention, whether that's a dedicated person following her around, maybe not. I do believe that the officers looked in it, and I believe what they said, that there was no evidence there.
Are you confident with the way they're investigating?
I think it's hard to say this way or that. They're obviously holding it very tight to chest, which could either be a really, really great sign or a really, really bad sign. And I think depending on...
But I want to start with that story confirming that Kaylee had a stalker. So take me to that whole situation with the business in town and what you found out.
Yeah, this was interesting, Ashley, and we didn't expect it. We went to this vape shop in downtown Moscow looking for surveillance video. I mean, we've been going all over the place just trying to get any new information. And the manager actually knew Kaylee and Maddie. They had been there 6 or 7 times. And then he had a lot to say about the potential of this stalker. Listen to what he told me.
So Kaylee and Maddie would both come in very happy, very friendly. They always were just such a smile on their face. Just like pretty much you would say they're the light of the world, pretty much. Always happy, go lucky. They always came in just chatting. They always came with a group, like I said. They probably, I'd say 4 or 5 girls at most, all the time. They come in together.
Okay. When I first saw this, I immediately said to myself, this guy has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. You're a manager of a store on a campus where you have 13,000 kids. It's a vape store. That's the new thing to do. Girls are going to be coming in and out of there. If you knew who these people were on a name basis, it's like a cell phone place, then you have to have some type of relationship with them. You don't know them because they came in your store 6 or 7 times unless you are striking up conversation or you're dealing.
Or you're dealing.
Couple times and were likely asleep during the attack. Some had defensive wounds, and there was no sign of sexual assault.
Okay, when I heard this again, because Roger Lanier did a really good job of being very cautious with his language, with the words that he used. And this whole thing of that the call originated from inside the house, okay? So 911 wasn't called outside the house by someone's phone after they ran out in disbelief, okay? This call originated from inside the home, one of the surviving roommates' phone, so it was not one of the deceased. Why would a student who has their phone with them all the time, Why would a student who has their phone with them all the time, someone like Hunter, someone like Sue, Bob, Joe, all these friends that are their age, why wouldn't they use their own phone to call 911? Why would they use the surviving roommate's phone? You wouldn't do that unless you didn't have your phone on you. And who doesn't have their phone on them?
The call reported an unconscious person. The call originated from inside the residence, and a surviving roommate's cell phone was used. During that call, the dispatcher spoke to multiple people who were on scene. Moscow police officers responded and found 2 victims.
That means that they would have talked to all of these people that were on scene, multiple people that were on scene. They would have talked to these people all outside the house. Or did 911 get them to get out of the house? Because you know what 911 does when there's like victims and stuff, like, can you do CPR? Can you, like, are they alive? Did you get a pulse? You know, like, that's what happens when you're talking to dispatch 911, you're like, they're trying to help you through the situation.
Really broke this down in my head. How could someone use someone else's phone to call 911? Everyone has their phones on password protect. If a roommate was able to call friends over, why wasn't that roommate then able to just call 911, even if it was after, you know, talking to your friends to do whatever it is that you needed to do before you called? Why wouldn't the friend or friends that were summoned over use their own phone to call 911? What was the original plan that clearly went, I believe, AWOL? And did any of the roommates speak on the 911 call? So from all of this, I began to start a new little slew thing on who was called that could potentially be somebody that cannot be the person, you know, is there, or that this person does not want it out there that they were there. They don't want to have to explain it. It's not important. You know, how can we just, hey, this, you know, I'm here, but listen, I can't be the one to call. I can't be the one to do any of this because it's going to lead to other questions. It's going to lead to other questions. And that's the only thing that made sense to me, is that so we need to have a plan. And I think that investigators were lied to. I think that people took the rap for maybe being there that weren't there, but like I said, you have people that are on this 911 call. So how many voices are on it, and did they go ahead and establish that, okay, this person is this voice, this person is this voice? But just because the voice, how do I want to say all this? It's, to me, this was problematic. This was problematic to somebody that does not want their name out there, because it's going to lead to other things. For example, if Tom Smith is 50 years old and he has no ties to any of these people in terms of publicly out there, like, why would this person call me? And why would I be there? But if I can get away with saying that you called me because I was offering you a job, or you had called, like, we can get away with why you had called me, and that you called me before you went upstairs because you were supposed to come, you know, we can explain a phone call, okay? We can't explain that you called me because you found your roommates dead and I was your first phone call. Now that we can't explain, or we don't want to explain, because it's going to lead down a path of drugs, rock and roll, sex. It basically leads to a road of, why was this your first phone call? Why would you call this person who you don't know, or we don't think that you know? Why would you call this person? And if it was as simple as calling one of these neighbors who's always over all the time, That's explainable, okay? That's explainable. But what's not explainable is explaining how you called somebody who is not somebody that you're ever publicly with, hang out with in any capacity like that, why that would be your first phone call after seeing your roommate's dead bodies. Also, I believe that, so during this investigation part right here, I said, okay, whoever called to have people over there, because it's not like the call when they said that it originated inside the residence, that means that the people or a person was inside that residence, right? The call originated what? Then you came outside. Oh, because that's the story you're going to give, right? And then what? Somebody just picks up the phone because it was, I just picked it up and I didn't realize who they were talking to. And so I started talking to 911. Well, that doesn't make any sense because you had the wherewithal to be fine and to make all the other phone calls first. And then now all of a sudden you're passing out, because I believe that they were going to sell the fact that I did not see the bodies yet. I had called them just to come over and hang out because we hang out all the time anyway, so I had already called them. I called them first to come and hang out. I hadn't seen the bodies yet. That's why I was able to call them and everything was fine. That's what they're going to sell, okay? But we know that that's bullshit, right? The timing will tell you that it's bullshit, right? Depending on what time they got there, and body cam, or not body cam, but like the footage from the outside houses are going to say, okay, this car got here at 10 o'clock in the morning. You called us at 11:52. What's going on? That's what that's going to lead to. That's when some people are going to have to come clean and get lawyers and explain to their lawyers what the hell's going on, okay? And go through lawyers at that point. That's what I believed was happening. I believe that we have a couple different versions, and the version started changing because law enforcement looked at footage. Whether it was
they started applying pressure. That is how you get a false either confession or a false narrative, when you start threatening shit. Okay?
FBI that looked at it, whether it was Moscow, Idaho State Police, but they had footage issues. They had timeline issues. And now it was about, all right, getting our stories all straight. And whether they did that collectively with the police department and the other law enforcement agencies, or whether they did that outside of it, and so that everybody would have the same story when they were talked to a second or third time. That I would still be, unsure of, and we'll see what happens at trial. But where I was and where I am in the investigation right now is that we're looking for somebody or somebodies that are going to be very hard to explain on why they were called if it was after seeing the bodies versus before.
November 23rd, 2022, 10 days after the bodies were found, Moscow Police Department believes the following are not involved.
Results of autopsies indicated that the four were stabbed multiple times and were likely asleep during the attack. Some had defensive wounds, and there was no sign of sexual assault. We do not believe the following individuals were involved. The two
Again, a key word there is we do not believe. When you say we have determined, okay, we have determined, that's completely different than the word believe. Big difference with the way the police operate and work with writing shit. Okay? We have determined is way higher up on the scale of certainty than we believe.
surviving roommate.
I believe I can believe.
The male seen in a grub truck video circulating on the internet. A private party who drove Kaylee and Madison home. any of the individuals who spoke to the dispatcher on the 911 call. We're also aware of a male whom Madison and Kaylee had called several times the morning of November 13th, and we do not suspect that individual.
Now, see, none of this makes any sense when I was watching it because of what the next guy says. And it's about how this takes time. We have to process this. We have to.
How cases are investigated, so that maybe it'll give some sense of the why of the timeline here. We understand you want answers. We want
The why of the timeline here.
answers too. But these
This is the Idaho State Police, who are the most inept, or they're corrupt. You can pick and choose.
time, and if I could explain just a minute about the process here of what we go through just generally in investigations. So we use in advanced investigative techniques and crime scene processing. So what happens when a call comes in, the original officers, the first officers that respond to a scene, and then once that they've got their work there and determined that they need some additional investigative assistance, then they call investigators to come and help process that scene. And oftentimes it requires a forensics team to help process that scene. And when I say process the scene, what we're looking for.
The Idaho State Police's forensic team? When you use your hands for rods to like hold your little rods and don't put them on tripods, like that team? The team that lets gloves fall on the ground and just pick them back up and go right to town? The team that later notices and uses very key words in a probable cause affidavit. Those guys, right? People like that? No, those are the people that are detectives. Our forensic team, we're solid.
Evidence that may help us to be able to find the people or person responsible for what we're seeing. And so we're collecting biological evidence, we're collecting latent evidence, whether it's shoe prints or tire marks or anything like that. We're trying to collect that evidence. We're trying to correct, we do that through photographs, we do that through 3D mapping to be able to map the scene. We identify and we mark evidence, and then we collect that evidence. And then
So this should be like really, really good. You know, this should all be so organized that Ann Taylor didn't have to ask for 18 supplemental discovery requests. Okay, that's how good y'all had this. And y'all took your time, and this stuff takes time because we're taking our time, because we're doing it right, because the victims are owed this, right?
We look for any evidence that we think may be helpful.
Oh,
once that is done, then we package all that evidence up and we send it off to forensics laboratories to be analyzed to see if it can help provide clues of what's happening. All of this takes an immense amount of time.
Yeah, all of this takes immense amount of time. Exactly. So how the fuck y'all do it? It takes so much time. You guys, those two other cases I just showed you, older grandma couple, no suspects, no arrests. Other guy, no. This case, 6 weeks. In such a complex case, an arrest with the person having no ties to any of the victims. 6-week arrest. Think about that.
The reason this is important to understand is because it's important that while this is such a tragic circumstance that we find ourselves in law enforcement, we believe we owe this to the surviving families to get this right.
Well, then if it takes so much time and there's so much to do, then why are you clearing people, and how are you clearing people? If what you need was sent off, the 103 pieces were sent off to a lab to be examined. How are you clearing people day 10? But more importantly,
you guys know that because I was showing the date. So November 23rd, they had collected 103 up to 103 pieces. The day after Thanksgiving, which I don't believe they worked on Thanksgiving, but I cannot wait to see these reports. The day after Thanksgiving, so on November 25th, they would have collected 10 new pieces of physical evidence.
Why? Why do you even have to speak on that publicly? This to me was a timeline for him to explain about it's a cover your own ass, but why do you even have to go to this, path to cover your own ass with a timeline of all the response stuff, all the police end of it. We're over here questioning a timeline of like, wait, what do you mean this happened at 3 or 4 in the morning? There's people in there. They didn't hear people getting stabbed. What's going on? And which is crazy enough to us. But then here we now have a cop on the podium. He is trying to explain his timeline, which is the responses to things and what happens. And like he's already basically gearing up for those questions when they come out, as far as, wait, why didn't you get there until 4 or 5 to process the scene? Why weren't you called until here? Why didn't the coroner go in at this time? They're already jumping ahead of a ball. But if you don't pay attention to everything that these people say and why they're saying it, they're pulling stuff over on us before we can even question something. They're already talking about something that they know is about to be in question because they question it themselves.
Oh! I think I may have taken. Oh wait, what did I do? I took a little bit of this out. Okay, hold on, I redid this.
We've conducted multiple 3D scans of the residence, and we have hundreds of hours used by technicians and investigators, including our forensics team and detectives from multiple agencies. We've processed over 1,000 total tips and conducted 150 interviews.
150 interviews at that point. 150 interviews at that point. 150 interviews. And the parents weren't one of them.
I hope that you understand that gives a little bit of a perception of just how complex this case is.
This is the first time that the word complex really, really sticks out to me. And it's because it's like, wait, how is this so complex? What does complex really mean? Why is this so complex? Why is this case so complex? Like 4 college students, isolated, targeted attack. What the motive is complex? What makes this complex?
Boom, bitch.
And when you think about that, when you think about why he's saying that this is complex, is he saying for them it's complex? Because what they're going to need to get a conviction, because it's going to be all circumstantial. But what does complex really mean? If something's complicated, what makes this complicated? What makes this complicated? It's a complex case.
On November 23rd, it's a complex case. Brian Colbert is still in Washington, okay?
That means there's moving parts.
Woo!
That means there's moving parts. That's what makes it complex. Think about it. When you say that you're in a complicated relationship, what does complicated mean?
A lot of moving parts.
Moving parts, different scenarios, different things are going on. What, a case within a case?
Woo!
But what is truly making this complex? And how do you already know that it's a complex case? Versus, well, let's just, where's the evidence leading you?
Oh, man, oh, God.
Then the other thing that I took away from Willis over here.
Willis.
He talks about the numbers. And he says that there was 150 interviews. November 23rd, 150 interviews to date. Well, that's something interesting because on the November 23rd press release, it's 3 pages, and it coincides with this November 23rd press conference. And when they talk about the numbers, they only talk about 103 pieces of evidence, 4,000 photographs. They talk about the multiple 3D dimensional scans of the residents. But guess what? Oh, and they also talk about the investigators and how many hours they've worked. But guess what they don't talk about? They don't talk about the fact that they have 150 interviews. That's something that we get from ISP.
Woo!
So I went back and looked, and on November 21st,
Tell me.
it was still at 38 interviews in the written.
Lana, you're so fucking good! You guys, shut the fuck up. November 21st, 38 interviews. By November 23rd, 150 interviews. Get out of your mind. Come on.
November 23rd, 150 interviews to date. Well, that's something interesting because on the November 23rd press release, it's 3 pages, and it coincides with this November 23rd press conference. And when they talk about the numbers, they only talk about 103 pieces of evidence, 4,000 photographs. They talk about the multiple 3D dimensional scans of the residents. But guess what? Oh, and they also talk about the investigators and how many hours they've worked. But guess what they don't talk about? They don't talk about the fact that they have 150 interviews. That's something that we get from ISP. So I went back and looked, and on November 21st, it was still at 38 interviews in the written Moscow press release. On November 21st, 38 interviews. Then you have November 22nd, and now you have November 23rd, and it's 150. But Moscow still, in their paperwork, on November 23rd, they just don't talk about the interviews. They don't talk about it. They don't have the number 38 in, and it's just like a typo. They just completely take out that information to even be available. Why? Why? Is it because anybody like someone like me sees November 1st or November 21st, 38 interviews, and then November 23rd, 150? Who the hell was getting interviewed within those 2 days?
How many people? Yeah.
And what are you considering interviews? And why can't you talk about it on your...
Dude, if I had the Discovery, guys, I'm telling you, I think I could do some damage. Just give me the Discovery. God, I'm doing this with no Discovery. I'm doing this with, like, the public record and the 6 to 7 week manhunt.
November 23rd printout.
Unreal. Unreal.
We ask you and we ask the public to please remain patient as this investigation unfolds. And please rely on official sources of information. We really appreciate the media's assistance. We know you have a job to do. We know that you're professionals and you do it to the best of your ability. And we're thankful that you're here because without you, we could not get the correct information to the community that could help us solve this. So I can't overemphasize how much I appreciate and we appreciate in law enforcement your willingness to do this.
Did someone not fill him in on the fact that the 2 survivors weren't on the bottom floor like you told the world over and over? They kept telling us, only get the information from them. They're the official sources of the information. They fed us shit for 7 fucking weeks. And they've fed Ann Taylor for the past fucking 2 years shit.
What you are doing matters. and it matters in what we are committed to doing, and that is to, the best way we can think of to honor these victims and their families is to conduct this investigation correctly. Finally, I'd like to share that I've been in regular contact with Idaho's Governor Brad Little
Oh, great.
throughout this investigation. Governor Little is making available up to $1 million for expenses related to this ongoing investigation. As you heard, the resources that are here in Moscow and throughout with this investigation, you can see that those expenses would add up quickly.
Thank you, Jerry.
Like all Idahoans, Governor Little is deeply saddened by the loss of
$1
these
million
4 bright and promising young lives. And he's making sure the state of Idaho provides all of the resources possible to ensure that the person or persons responsible for this are brought to justice. And now I'd like to turn the time over to the University of Idaho President Scott Green.
Oh, Scott Green. You guys. 2 + 2 in Idaho equals 5. Just remember that. Letcher County, I got you guys coming up next. Letcher County, if you guys want to hear about
We deeply appreciate the kind words.
a swingers party. If you guys want to hear about what goes on in Letcher County, I'm just over here connecting the dots and showing you guys a lifestyle here. I am pushing it back. So the Letcher County Live is going to be at 10 p.m. And then, woo, we got round the clock Delphi going on all day Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then in the evening hours, it'll be all my other cases that'll go on in the evening. But Letcher County, you guys know what I'm talking about. I love a good swingers party. Why don't you guys just tell me that we got some swingers parties going on, okay? I'll be happy to supply all the alcohol for the whole damn party. But we're going to talk about it tonight at 10.
Words of support we have been receiving from our alumni and friends, as well as many others who may not know us but have taken time to reach out. People are donating to the victims' GoFundMe pages and the Bruce Pittman Fund for Students in Need, and they're buying personal devices for our students and continuing to look for other ways that they can help. This is what it means to be a vandal. In the last 24 hours, we have sent updated communications to our students.
And then secondly, will there be any possibility of the release of the 911 phone call, even in transcript form?
Not at this time. That's part of our investigation.
How can the 911 call be part of your investigation? Think about that. Think about that. The 911 call is, remember, this is the part that they've always said, that they do not want to jeopardize the integrity of this investigation. But yet when Brian Colbert is arrested, you guys go on a fucking tour day, the Today Show, all this shit, and even before he's arrested, and you guys are doing pressers or interviews rather, and it got you what? It got the case kicked out of Latah County. Okay? So you want to talk about the integrity of this investigation? Bullshit. There was no integrity of this investigation from jump. And so think about how precious this 911 call truly is to the bigger picture. Unbelievable.
Frankie Beer, the Daily Evergreen. I guess the Moscow PD press release mentioned looking into hundreds of pieces of information about Kaylee's potential stalker. I was wondering what led you to believe she did have a stalker possibly, and why those pieces of information haven't come up with conclusive results.
I'm actually going to let Captain Lanier answer this question, okay?
It's like I have no idea.
We obtained information through some of our interviews that Kaylee had made some comments about.
Okay, well, listen to this. Remember, the family said they were not interviewed. So who gave this information to say that Kaylee had a stalker? 38 interviews to 150. So was it during the 38, or is that why your number jumped up so much? You're just running around saying, the kid says she has a stalker. Come on, somebody has to tell me. Anybody. Somebody tell me that Kaylee had a stalker so I can write this down.
A stalker, so that's where that came from. We have followed up looking at specific time frames in specific areas of town. So far, we have not been able to corroborate it, but we're not done looking into that piece of information.
Thank you.
And there was the official press conference talk about the whole Kaylee stalker situation. Throughout my investigation, I went ahead and was like, who brought this to the table? Who brought this to the table? Who are the individuals? Because I don't believe it was in the sense of that she had a stalker. I think it was in the sense of that she was afraid of somebody. And who did she trust enough to even talk about?
Woo! Who was Kaylee afraid of? You know, think about that. Like, when you want to say of a stalker, maybe it's not that, but maybe like the Rachel Del Tondo situation comes to mind. When Rachel Del Tondo said that she was afraid of the police. The police were following her. Okay? She was afraid of the police. Rachel Del Tondo said that. She was afraid of Frank Atropa, the police. So being afraid of somebody and the word stalker in Latah County, do they think that that's like one and the same? I don't know.
This with was somebody saying this to lead investigators in a wrong direction.
DMC!
Everything about this was weird to me because Kaylee having a stalker, there's 4 people dead.
Jen!
There's not one person dead. A stalker isn't going, this isn't how you would go about getting your object of your affection. Like, this is not what you would do. You'd want to isolate them. You'd want to have them all to yourself. You know, going inside a home where 6 people are and stabbing 4 of them brutally and leaving 2 alone. No, this doesn't sound like this would be somebody's stalker. What this sounds like is somebody giving all 4 of these people problems. So is the word stalker actually being used incorrectly here? And should it be another word? Are you having problems with somebody? So they're not necessarily your stalker, but they're showing up places because, I don't know, do you owe anybody money? And they keep coming up places? Are you messing around with someone's boyfriend and then the ex-person's coming up around you and, you know, getting in your grill? At the end of the day, though, what this told me is who would come forward in these interviews and say this, and for what reason, and really what kind of concrete evidence do they have. And the cops they're talking about time frames when this was allegedly to have been said to happen. I think the reason that they mentioned that is because this was earlier. The dates and times that they're giving, I believe from his answer, isn't recent. And that also makes sense because wasn't Kaylee living at home? She was at home a lot. So was she having problems in her hometown? Or was she having problems and that's why she went to her hometown? Because I don't think that's the reason that she's in her hometown. Maybe she's in her hometown because she wants to be hanging out with somebody that's in her hometown. So she's there a lot more.
Maybe she was over those fucking idiots partying.
Remember that name, Jordan, at the beginning of this episode?
Maybe she was like, you guys, I'm not getting in trouble every day for
while you guys were watching the 2 videos about the Chicago murders with stabbings and then the Oregon murder with stabbings. Well, Jordan would be a friend of Kaylee's that said that she was going to Austin with Kaylee. And now this blew my mind because Kaylee put out in October that she was going to Austin and she was looking for a roommate. She made a big to-do about it on social media and put out like basically an ad looking for a roommate in the Austin area. Check out what I found.
Okay, hi class. Today we're going to be talking about healthy relationships and what it means to be a good friend. So I want everyone
How do I find this shit?
to raise their hand if you've ever heard the nursery rhyme. It goes 1, 2, buckle my shoe, 3, 4, shut the door. We're going to go over how to bump past a volleyball. So to start, please raise your hand if you have ever bumped past a volleyball before. Okay.
From this article in the New York Post, dated November 19th, Jordan says that Kaylee, who was from the same area as she was, had been set to graduate early in December and planned to move to Austin, Texas with one of her closest friends in June. The friend is Jordan Quinsnell. She said that Miss Gonsalves had secured a position with a marketing firm and was excited to explore more of the country. It would also be right from this New York Post that Jordan's name is mentioned again on November 19th in an article. It's about the victim, Kaylee Gonsalves, having a stalker, right? They had interviewed somebody or multiple people. Is Jordan one of them? I believe yes. But also, in this article, it is Bill Thompson who basically gives it away here and says, investigators were looking at cell phone tower data. What were they looking at? Were they just getting all the phone numbers and making a list of all the numbers that were in the area? Wait, I am so confused here. Kaylee was supposed to be leaving in January to be going to Europe to go backpacking for a month across Europe, and then she starts her new job in February and getting an apartment in Austin and is actually looking for a roommate. And she posts online. But Jordan here, she seems to think that Kaylee's going and has a job in Austin in June that she's really excited for. But she does mention that she's getting excited because she's graduating here in December. But she's not starting that full-time job until June. But then there's another time that Jordan's interviewed, and in the interview she says that she is going with her. Jordan is going with Kaylee. And so I was determined to get to the bottom of everything to do with Jordan, with Kaylee, with these dates. Let's go. And here it was. November 16th was actually the article. Just 2 days. Bodies are found on the 13th. The 14th would go by. The 15th would go by. And then on the 16th, this is posted. So this interview happened within 2 days of finding Kaylee deceased. And here it is. As I'm scrolling through, I see Jordan Quinsnell. And she even goes deeper. She says that she was set to graduate in early December and had planned to move to Austin together in June. The plan was for Jordan to teach elementary school and Miss Gonsalves to work for a marketing firm that had offered her an internship.
So then why is Kaylee in October, right before the murders, in October, she goes on the site to post for the roommates, where you can find roommates and stuff like that. I have the screenshots of it. Why did she go in on October, right before the murders, a month before the murders, and write that she was looking for a roommate? That she was looking for a roommate for February. Why all of a sudden was Kaylee all right, because this Jordan girl who's going to be her roommate, she thinks that she's going there with her in June. Okay, that's their plan. That's their plan. So why not finish out and be hanging out with Maddie you know, the whole way until you're about to, you know, graduate, stay on the way through. Like, you just moved into the house that you're in right now. You moved in June. You moved in June. You're going to move out in, wait, what? And then you're going to go to Europe, Barcelona, and then you're going to go, now all of a sudden you're going to, hey, I'm going to take Murphy with me. Who's going to watch the puppy? Like, when you don't have any friends or family places and you have a dog, that's very, very difficult, especially a puppy.
Both women had grown up in Idaho and yearned to see more of the country. Jordan said that they spent weeks trying to choose a city to move to. They were eyeing San Diego, Charlotte, ultimately picking Austin. I wanted to look more closely at those cities: San Diego, Boston, Charlotte. Why was Austin picked over those three? And was there a reason that San Diego, Boston, Charlotte, and Austin were the four? What was going on in those cities? What businesses were there?
According to a New York Times article,
Was she
Kaylee
just
Gonsalves
picking
planned to move to Austin after
hub to go
graduation with
to
her close
with
friends.
this
She had gotten a job with a
Was there
marketing firm.
other, places
A
that this
Facebook
marketing
post from October in the group
company
Austin
had
Roommates
other
shows
places to
her
go to?
looking for someone to live with. It reads,
And
in part,
also,
I
what's
am
with
coming
this
from Idaho,
June?
so I am not familiar with the area, so open
And the
to living
interesting thing
anywhere
is
in
that
the Austin.
October 11th, looking for a roommate to move in with me from February to June. To February to June. I am coming from Idaho, so I am not familiar with the area, so open to living anywhere in the Austin area. I am a 21-year-old girl with a really sweet 20-pound dog. If anyone is looking for a place from February just to June in Austin, let me know. All of a sudden, deciding to do this, like, all right, I'm going to go, like, why not just wait until June? Why all of a sudden, like, that was the plan? You're going to go in June. I'm going to go early. I'm going to go February to June. And clearly, this can't be like a great type of a job if they're like, usually those type of places like, oh, we'll move you down here. We'll put you up in a place. Because then you're like going to be, you have the place you're going to be living at, your original plans wasn't until June. So, all right, let's go ahead and we'll see what we can do here to, like, your company would help you out. Also, was it a company that you could be living anywhere and working for them?
Area.
Kaylee said in her post that she only needed a place until June. So she only needed a place to...
Jordan 100% said that she did not know that Kaylee was going in February. That's a fact. Take that to the bank.
Sublet for February, March.
So then what I'm about to talk about here is that, so Kaylee then knew that she was going to try to, like, sublet her place February, March, April, May, June, July. I mean, who's going to move into the 1122 King house? You don't decide at the beginning of a school year or just at the end of a school year, hey, all of us girls are going to all live together. Okay, great. This is how much the house costs. It's going to be $2,500. We split it between 6 people. This will be all right. It doesn't, that's how that house worked at 1122 King. All right. So if Kaylee just wants to dip out and peace out, that's why Xana was like, dude, she's not paying these bills. Maddie, why don't you ask them for her? She'll give them to you. She's not giving them to me. Like, but you're still going to pay your portion of the bills, whether or not you live here or not, until you get somebody to take over it. Like, that's the deal. So why would you want to do all of that? Like, what's going on?
March, April, and May. So she only needed from February to May. Is it because Jordan was coming in June?
You've been frustrated with, because you did your own work here. For instance, you found video of the food truck, for example, where 2 of the victims were seen the same night as this killing.
Yeah, I would say, I think that obviously this is extremely personal for us and we treated it that way from the very get-go. I know how valuable those first 48, 72 hours are. And I can only hope that the police also know how valuable that is and that they have a lot of information there that just isn't public right now. I will say the one lingering frustration I have is the timeline. I know it's semantics, but my sisters got home at 1:56. It wasn't 1:45. I know it might not seem significant, but when we're looking for camera, when we're looking for dash footage, when we're looking for any of those things, I do feel it is valuable, and they did get home at 1:56. It was not 1:45.
Right. Well, there's one detail there. Kaylee's mother has said she believes that the suspect, the killer, is someone Kaylee knew very well, and that the killer might even be at the vigil. Remarkable. I wonder, Steve, do you share that view?
It's speculation. My daughter was very popular. It seemed like everyone that I talked to said she knew everyone. They had parties. They were college kids. They were about to graduate.
Yeah.
So somebody could have partied in the house and got an idea or got the confidence to pull that off.
Steve, this question of a stalker, and I'm very...
Wait, let's hear that one more time.
You found video of the food truck, for example, where two of the victims were seen the same night as this killing.
Yeah, I would say, I think that obviously this is extremely personal for us, and we treated it that way from the very get-go. I know how valuable those first 48, 72 hours are. And I can only hope that the police also know how valuable that is and that they have a lot of information there that just isn't public right now. I will say the one lingering frustration I have is the timeline. I know it's semantics, but my sisters got home at 1:56. It wasn't 1:45. I know it might not seem significant, but when we're looking for camera, when we're looking for dash footage, when we're looking for any of those things, I do feel it is valuable, and they did get home at 1:56. It was not 1:45.
Right. Well, there's one detail there. Kaylee's mother has said she believes that the suspect, the killer, is someone Kaylee knew very well, and that the killer might even be at the vigil.
Did you guys hear that? That Kaylee knew this person really well, and they might even show up at the vigil.
Remarkable. I wonder, Steve, do you share that view?
It's speculation. My daughter was very popular.
Olivia's nodding her head. Her brother's nodding his head. Yes, basically saying, yes, we do think that she knew who this person was.
Seemed like everyone that I talked to said she knew everyone. They had parties. They were college kids. They were about to graduate.
Yeah.
So somebody could have partied in the house and got an idea or got the confidence to pull that off.
Steve, this question of a stalker, and I'm very conscious with this story of how many rumors.
Frustrations with the investigation. Here is part one of our conversation.
You know, she was hurt so bad that she was not able to recover. That is just terrible.
Oh, it's okay.
It's terrible. I cannot fathom in my head what kind of person did this.
It's capable.
And why. I can't sleep at night. I lay in bed pondering just millions of different scenarios. And just, I want to know, but then there's stuff obviously you don't want to know, but
You just cry.
I think I want to know it all, and
You're okay.
I just don't understand why. How somebody could take somebody, four of them, it wasn't just my girl, just so savagely.
Is anyone acting differently since the murders? I mean, is there anyone that you have a weird feeling about that the girls knew or that comes to mind?
Yeah, I would say not in the immediate circle by any means, but a few of the names that have been circulating around, I think it's hard not to kind of, dig into this. And I don't know how much of that is just because we have so little information from law enforcement and how much of it really is, a sister or a father's intuition.
Can you elaborate at all? I don't know. You don't have to give a name, but I mean, is it someone that she knew, or?
I have something to say about that. I just feel like there's been a couple individuals that were cleared very fast. That may not, maybe he shouldn't have been. And yeah.
She had the strong alibi.
Just really fast.
If you can dismiss.
An hour later, and we're like, what? And I don't know anything about those individuals. I just know they were people that, definitely should have been looked at. And yeah.
I don't know what would prevent you from sharing somebody's alibi.
Yeah, I think that's what we're struggling with. So it's like, we know what we know. We've, fought for Jack, Kaylee's boyfriend, and, we still stand that way. So
Who had a strong alibi? Not in the immediate circle. Was it Molly Gray?
Are you nervous at all? I mean, because in Moscow, we talked to students. People are really nervous there.
They should be.
Yeah.
This targeted to me, it seems behavior-based. That's why I don't like it, and it kind of pits the parents against each other. So I don't like that. I just told some of the other parents today that, if your daughter has no ill will for me, man. To me, if you go have a couple beers or go out and hang out with your friends and then come home and go to bed, if that's your target, then I think we all do that. I think we all come home and go to our beds.
It's all target.
Yeah, so
it's kind of a bad word then. It doesn't really make sense in some ways.
Exactly.
Even the prosecutor told me that.
Yeah.
He said, I think it was kind of a weird word to choose.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it makes sense if there was some bad behavior that they did, let's say.
I think I said this back then, but I think that Steve was confusing target and motive, in my opinion, but he nailed it at the end. Bad behavior, but whose behavior? And that would be all of them, in my opinion. So again, what was truly going on at 1122 King Avenue Road it's like
it was safe. There had not been a homicide in Moscow in 7 years.
Because the police used that. The prosecutor used this. That this was early on in the investigation. We knew right away. We knew immediately that this was an isolated, targeted, event, incident. Isolated, targeted. Okay.
And now this morning he tells me the only thing worse than losing his daughter, her best friend, and 2 others is not knowing why or who is responsible.
This morning, students on edge at the University of Idaho as the search for the killer in that brutal quadruple homicide enters its 3rd week.
It is disconcerting that there is somebody out there who's done such a horrible thing and they haven't been caught.
The school posting this notice on social media Monday, writing increased security will be on site for the remainder of the semester. Steve Gonzalez, the father of one of the victims, 21-year-old Kaylee, now shedding new light on what happened that night in his first sit-down interview.
It was fast, and nobody suffered and nobody felt like that kind of pain.
2 other roommates survived on the ground floor, waking up several hours later, calling friends over when their roommates were unresponsive.
Do you know the reason why the initial concern was that a roommate was passed out?
I know the girls reached out via texting and calling, so I can only assume that by the phones being ignored, knowing how my daughter is not going to ignore calls and texting.
Officials maintain the murders happened between 3 and 4 a.m. and that the first 911 call was made around noon. Just hours later, Steve was informed of his daughter's death, not by police, but by family members on campus.
Let's call Matt.
Happy to be joined this morning by Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson. Mr. Thompson, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Police there have called this a targeted, isolated attack. Are investigators looking for a particular suspect or suspects this morning?
At this point, the investigators are looking at all possibilities. They don't have a specific suspect. They're continuing to work on that.
Do you believe that whomever did this is still at large?
Yes, we have no one in custody, and the police have been unable to identify who's responsible for these homicides.
Is it possible there's more than one suspect?
It certainly is possible. That's the purpose of the investigation. That's why we're really hoping for any information from the public that can help the investigators recreate everyone's activities Saturday night and early Sunday morning, and hopefully give them the leads, the information to identify who did this.
There's so many things about this case that are so hard to put together. Veteran police officers who arrived at the scene said it was one of the most horrific and gruesome scenes that they had ever seen. Yet somehow there were two roommates who were in the house who apparently didn't hear anything. What are the red flags you have there, and are those roommates considered persons of interest?
Well, anybody who might have knowledge is considered persons of interest at this point. As far as suspects, I don't believe so. The investigators continue to work hard trying to interview everyone who might have any information and hopefully figure out and identify what occurred and why and who's responsible.
As we understand the timeline, and we recognize that this is an investigation very much ongoing, the four came home, you know, early in the morning, Sunday morning, let's say 1:45, 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that. The 911 call didn't come until midday the next day. Does that raise any red flags for you? How do you explain that?
I think the investigators are trying to ascertain why there was a delay and what actually occurred, what was heard. That's a question that's still out there, and I know they're working on that. We're trying to assist them as much as possible with obtaining search warrants for data and cell records and social media and anything that might help.
Do you know who called 911? Can you reveal who reported this?
I can't reveal who made the 911 call. The police do know who made the 911 call, though.
Obviously, we don't know anything about motive, but the mayor did initially refer to this crime as a crime of passion. Why did he say that?
I can't speak for Mayor Betke. To my knowledge, there is nothing to indicate that this has been determined to be a crime of passion. We know it's just a horrible crime, and 4 young lives have been lost.
And finally, you know, initially, investigators and the police had said the community has nothing to worry about. Now they've sort of said, well, of course we should be vigilant because there is a suspect or suspects still at large. What is your message to that community this morning?
Well, I think the fact of the matter is that whoever is responsible for these murders is still at large. The investigators do not know who that person is. From what they've told my office, they believe that this was what they call a targeted attack and not just a random act of violence. And I think they tried to communicate that, but obviously that communication didn't work very well. It's unfortunate for any confusion in the community. People just need to be vigilant and help us however they can. We hope that we can identify who's responsible. And
on November 13th,
How does that make it be Brian then? If you think about it. Right?
Scene said it was one of the most horrific and gruesome scenes that they had ever seen.
I don't believe so. The investigators continue to work hard trying to interview everyone who might have any information and hopefully figure out and identify what occurred and why and who's responsible.
As we understand the timeline, and we recognize that this is an investigation very much ongoing, the four came home, you know, early in the morning, Sunday morning, let's say 1:45, 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that. The 911 call didn't come until midday the next day. Does that raise any red flags for you? How do you explain that?
I think the investigators are trying to ascertain why there was a delay and what actually occurred, what was heard. That's a question that's still out there, and I know they're working on that. We're trying to assist them as much as possible with obtaining search warrants for data and cell records and social media and anything that might help.
Do you know who called 911? Can you reveal who reported this?
I can't reveal who made the 911 call. The police do know who made the 911 call, though.
Obviously, we don't know anything about motive, but the mayor did initially refer to this crime as a crime of passion. Why did he say that?
I can't speak for Mayor Betke. To my knowledge, there is nothing to indicate that this has been determined to be a crime of passion. We know it's just a horrible crime, and 4 young lives have been lost.
And finally, initially, investigators and the police had said the community has nothing to worry about. Now they've sort of said, well, of course we should be vigilant because there is a suspect or suspects still at large. What is your message to that community this morning?
Well, I think the fact of the matter is that whoever is responsible for these murders is still at large. The investigators do not know who that person is. From what they've told my office, they believe that this was what they call a targeted attack and not just a random act of violence. And I think they tried to communicate that, but obviously that communication didn't work very well. It's unfortunate.
You understand what he is saying right there? That's going to be a problem, don't you think? That's going to be a problem. How is it Brian Colbert then? With what they just said right there.
For any confusion in the community, people just need to be vigilant and help us however they can. We hope that we can identify who's responsible and get them off the streets as soon as we can.
We're sure your officers and prosecutors are working hard there.
If Brian Colbert was the killer and is the killer, Washington State University, Idaho, the University of Idaho, all of those students were seriously sitting ducks. Ducks just to what? This was going to happen again because he's going to kill again. So, wait, what?
Thank you so much, Latah County Prosecuting Attorney Bill Thompson. Thank you for your time this morning.
So as I'm comparing everything that has gone on before Thanksgiving and now here after Thanksgiving, I wanted to get everything that the parents had said up and until that point and really examine it. Because I had gotten to the point right after Thanksgiving, right after that last presser, that November 23rd presser, it went from, okay, the cops aren't telling us everything, to me then starting to believe that the cops weren't being honest about some things, because it just didn't add up. When 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, you gotta start questioning. So that's what I wanted to do. I really wanted to look specifically at the language, and it was this interview that Mr. Gonsalves did that really turned me on to start looking at pictures, start digging. Put it together, Lana.
About the case?
Well, we just had a vacation. Law enforcement told me that they were going to drop off a little bit and not to expect the same type of communication that I had gotten before. They passed it on to another person. So basically, long story short, it was Wednesday, 5 p.m. was the last time that they reached out to me. So, yeah, that's rough.
Sir, what are they telling you?
They're kind of just telling me that they can't tell me much, which is frustrating to me because I've been very trustworthy. I do know things. I haven't shared things. We're the same family that found the original timeline. We're the same family that broke into the phones. We tried everything in our ability to try to get into this system because a court order is not the fastest thing. So we broke in and we did what we did. We know that we have some family passwords that we all share. So we broke in and we helped them. So it's hard for me to give up as a father my protective ability to other men.
Sir, they have shared with us that it was a targeted attack. Can you give us any information about that? Have they told you who the target was? Or giving you more insight than they have the public?
I don't want to talk bad about them because these are some hardworking individuals, and I'm doomed without them. We're all doomed without them. This defund police is just a terrible idea. The fact that we're finding out that there's more than just my daughter and these children that have suffered, it's terrible to think that we can defund these guys. It's an absolute atrocity. That's not something that is it's political.
To find out that these are not the only victims. You guys just hear that?
It's not political. This is just facts, guys. We can't allow these people to just run free. So beyond that, they haven't shared a lot. We have some private detectives that have reached out to us and given
information about that. Have they told you who the target was or given you more insight than they have the public?
I don't want to talk bad about them because these are some hardworking individuals, and I'm doomed without them. We're all doomed without them. This defund police is just a terrible idea. The fact that we're finding out that there's more than just my daughter and these children that have suffered, it's terrible to think that we can defund these guys. It's an absolute atrocity. That's not something that is it's political. It's not political. This is just facts, guys. We can't allow these people to just run free. So beyond that, they haven't shared a lot. We have some private detectives that have reached out to us and given us information. We take that with a grain of salt and we try to be careful. Just today, I reached out to the officers and said, hey, this guy's treated me with respect on the show. I'd like to share some things with him that I found out on my own, and they asked me to not do that. So we're holding our tongue. We're waiting patiently, but we're definitely concerned.
Yeah. So, sir, I had the opportunity to speak with those same law enforcement officials today and was able to get some information out from them as well. We want to do everything that we can do to get you answers and to solicit more information for the timeline. But there's gaps in that timeline. Is there anything that you can share with us that may put people in that direction where they would feel willing to share about that timeline?
I've heard a little bit of feedback on this that people are nervous about the timeline. I'm going to tell you guys that there's so much attention on this. If you can share your information, if you can post it, I mean, it's the internet. You can do these things anonymously. Go forward. You don't have, and for those people who are afraid, like maybe I was intoxicated or I'm underage, that's not what they care about, guys. They're not looking at that. That is not going to happen. So give your information, give out that picture, that image, that video, that selfie, whatever it is, give it out and know that there's zero chance that they're coming to you for, ruining your career or your anything along those lines. They're just looking for data right now. And you could be the key. You might be something that has been overlooked. So I just implore people to come forward, especially when you're even close to that timeline, because technology is the only thing that doesn't lie, really. It's just data. And then we can analyze it as a society and determine what it is, but it doesn't lie. It's just simply data. So it's better than an eyewitness. It's better than anything that we can produce. It's right up there with DNA. And I just implore you, sometimes even if you think that selfie has nothing in the background, maybe there's a car that should be there, that somebody said in their alibi, I parked right here next to this tree. And then there's that tree and your car's not there.
Steve, we're going to put that number on the screen for people.
Someone's alibi or where they were could be disproved with digital evidence, and Steve Gonsalves, all he wanted was people to come forward. Hey, we don't care if you were underage drinking, whatever you were doing, no one is coming for you. Why would they have to break into Kaylee's phone records or phone, or what were they actually breaking into? It said being faster than waiting for court orders. Those subpoenas that Thompson was talking about. Does law enforcement have all of their phones? Has anyone confirmed with Moscow Police Department that they were able to recover all 4 victim phones? Coming up, drugs, Greek life. 2 were left alive. Why? Where did these girls work? Does all of this connect? Does none of it matter? Truth and transparency.
Good night. See you back here about 10:30.